All right, guys, I know it seems kind of overwhelming, but a second Bentley video. This one I'm just going to show you really quickly how to access the virtual activity, what we're going to be using for calorimetry. I want to show you how you're just go real quickly through how to access this lab here so that you can burn foods, different kinds of foods, virtually, of course. I'm not going to make you do that at home. And you can actually measure how much energy is in that food. So I want to show you some of the basics, how to get started. Won't go into all the details, but real quickly, so you have a basic primer on how to do that. So the link here is in Classroom. Now, when you click on that link, it's going to take you to this blank page. You need to upgrade your Flash player. That happens on Chromebooks. So when we click on that puppy, it's just going to ask us, hey, do you want us to run the Flash that you have? And we definitely want to allow that. So that's going to take us to this list of all of these virtual biology labs. Now, we don't, they're all, I'm sure, pretty cool. I've used several of them before. We only care about this first one, calorimetry. And what that is, remember from our previous one, how much energy is in the food you eat. So I'm going to go ahead and click on that. Now, when I do, I'm going to I actually want to mute this guy. I don't want to hear him talk, but you can hear him. So it gives you an introduction here. It'll go through, and it's going to talk about calories. We've mentioned calories before. Calories are the measure of energy in the food. So you can listen to him. You can mute him up here if you want. You can see a lot of tabs here, but I'm going to go ahead and do that. Now, oh, stop talking. So what you've got a lot of options here. Now, you can always go back and forth. It'll give you the problem. You can explore. No, we don't want to hear you. But it's going to keep reading to you. You might want to mute him talking. But at first, it's going to ask you to go through and explore the lab, to click on everything. So notice if I hover on stuff, I've got food back here and all these different food items. You can see those are our options we're going to test. Some of you picked those foods yesterday in your home scavenger hunt. And then when you click on them, it's going to check them off over here so that we know them. No, shush. And it wants us to actually go through and click on each thing. And you'll notice you'll get little check marks here. So I'm going to go through and click on all of them. Now, once we've clicked on all of them, excuse me, and now you can see that you click on each item in the checklist. Once you're ready to move on, that's its way of saying, hey, do you know all the equipment we're going to use? We're going to mass things on a balance. There's a crucible. That's where we're going to burn our food. This weird looking thing right here is the calorimeter. We're going to put the food in there, and that's how we're going to burn it. It's going to measure the temperature, and there's our food. So we're ready to go on. So we can click our procedure. Now I'm going to mute him again, but it gives you the directions up here. They're going to want you to select 5 food samples to compare in your experiment. So I'm going to go ahead and just pick broccoli. Who doesn't like cheese? Carrots and chicken, sure. And bread. I love eating sandwiches. And chocolate, of course. So once you get the 5 there, you want to keep continuing to follow these directions. They're going to ask you to click on a lab notebook to rank the foods, which ones you think, there's my lab notebook, which ones I think have the fewest calories, the least energy, which one has the most energy. So it's asking you to do what I had you guys do yesterday. So once you've recorded your directions, you're going to be able to go through and click on your steps. So I'm just going to input stuff. I'm not going to actually type words here just so I can show you. Yeah, but notice now this little flashing arrow up here. That means I'm ready to move on. I go on to step 2. So when you go to do these, it's going to give you the directions right here, guys. Drag your first food sample to the crucible. It's going to ask you to measure that. So like if I take my bread, there's a little piece of bread. Drag the food sample to the balance, and it's going to tell us how much is in there. Open the lab notebook and record that. So you're going to have to go back, and then I've got my bread, my initial mass. I can record that in there. It was 15.79 and so on. So keep following the directions that are on here. Once you've recorded the initial mass, click the arrow to go on to step 3. Keep doing that, and it's going to tell you. Now, what I want you to do just for today is to play around with this. Make a guess in your notebook. Record in there what of your 5 food items, and then run the procedures. Don't worry about what the numbers are meaning. Just record them and run through this as a trial, as a practice trial today to see if you're right. So again, your goal with this now initially is to follow the directions, become familiar with this. Because we're going to test it a little more scientifically and look at what that means in the next couple of classes. But I want you to become familiar with how to test these foods, how we're going to burn them in the calorimeter. And just like our primitive homemade one I talked about in the other Bentley video, this is going to allow us to measure temperature changes. And that's going to tell us how much energy is in that food. Seems kind of weird that we're burning it, but it's not that much different than chemically breaking it down. Our body's doing that. Remember, if you eat this food, we break it down in our bodies chemically. Kind of like we even say sometimes, I'm going to burn those calories off, or I'm going to burn that food. We're breaking it down and we're releasing that energy. Because remember, thanks to the producers, it's all about the energy. So with that, go ahead, open up the link, go ahead and make your guesses and just play around and pick 5 foods and try to explore them. Good luck. We'll see how we do.